let's face it, even us game developers cannot survive from just water and sun. You need money to keep going. Now everyone knows that you can get money by selling games, but that is by no means the only way to make money with game development. So in this video, I will go through the most common ways to earn money as a game developer. Hopefully at the end of this video you have some new ideas to support your full-time indie dream. Okay, let's start with the first way to earn money as a game developer. That is by selling games. Yes, I know, I just said that everyone knows that, but let's still quickly talk through it as there might be some interesting details along the way. So the basic process goes like this. You make a game and then in exchange for part of the revenue, you can have a storefront like Steam or Epic Game Store handle all the boring details for you, like distribution, handling the payments, handling all the taxation in different countries, etc. The amount of revenue they take for this differs per store, but the fact remains that even today, Steam is still the place where most people buy their PC games, and Steam takes 30% of the revenue. If you have a super big game, they might take a bit less. It's also good to note that you won't end up getting the 70% yourself. There are still taxes, returns, chargebacks and whatnot that will take their own share. If you're interested in more details, I have a video on my channel where I break it all down based on my own sales numbers. But to give you a quick number, I calculated that I end up getting 43 cents for every dollar my game sells. So you get a bit less than half, and that is without a publisher. So it is by no means easy to make your money by selling games, but it is possible. I mean, my first game, Mortal Glory, didn't sell millions, but it sold almost $130,000 within 1 year. It was also my first game, and when I started I had practically zero experience and I was working a full-time job. So again, it is not easy, but it is possible. There are also different platforms that you might want to consider for extra chances of success, like consoles or mobile devices. One less common platform you might have ignored so far is web browser games. There are the .io games that can make you millions if you play all your cards right. But another way of making money with browser games is by selling game licenses to online web game portals like Armor Games. Felipe Nunes has a really great write-up about this on his GitHub page, where he details how he can earn a few $1,000 for a few weeks of work. If you're not patient enough to spend many months or even years making a game, this might be an interesting option for you. And then, real quick, before we move away from selling games, I'll just casually mention that when this video comes out, my second game should have been just released. So if the game looks interesting to you, or you want to support what I do here on YouTube, the game is now out and every sale helps me keep doing what I do. And if you're fast, my first game should also be at a very nice discount at the moment. Okay, shilling aside, let's move on to our second way to earn money as a game developer. And that is by making money with in-app purchases or ads. This is very similar to the first one in the sense that your game still lives on the storefront, but instead of getting your money through the initial purchase, you will make your money by showing ads within the game or by offering services or products within your game. With this method, your game is not really the product, it's just the platform to offer your actual products. This is a big difference, and usually it means that you need to design your game from the ground up to support this method of monetization. Designing a game for this type of monetization is often less about designing a game and more about designing a monetization machine. In many cases, you might need to make your game less fun for most players and instead try to nurture destructive and addictive habits in your customers. So you might need to make some ethical compromises. But of course, not all in-app purchases are evil, and you can monetize your game this way with a clear conscience. It just likely means that you are leaving money on the table. This field is very mobile game focused and largely dominated by the big players with huge marketing budgets. So for the reasons mentioned before, I would maybe skip this method of making money. Then our third way of making money as a game developer. That is to provide services for other game developers. As game development becomes more and more popular and more approachable, there are more and more game developers and they will need more and more services and products provided to them. These services and products could be, for example, 3D models, code snippets, development tools, game templates, courses, tutorials, mentoring, marketing, whatever you can think of. As they say, the best way to make money during a gold rush is to sell pickaxes. Now I don't really know if that applies to game development fully, but I think it has some sense of truth in it. Most indie devs are probably looking help with tasks that are tedious, time-consuming, or just hard to do. As a personal example, I can say that I was happy to pay a little money for a saving feature rather than spending days to come up with a solution of my own. Similarly, I am very happy to pay for sound effects and art assets, so I don't need to start learning drawing myself or spending thousands on commissioning everything from actual artists. The downsides of this method of making money, as I see them, are that, well, first of all, you need to be very skilled usually in the service you're providing or make high quality products so that people are actually willing to spend money on them. And secondly, you might not get any organic traffic at all from the asset stores, so you really need to focus on the marketing yourself also. These downsides aren't really unique to this method though, so maybe in the end it comes down to if you like selling big access or not. Then, fourth way of making money with game development is content creation. By creating content about game development, you don't actually have to sell anything. There are many developers on YouTube who earn money by creating entertaining videos, and on Twitch there is even a category for game development. It also doesn't have to be videos. You could write a blog or host a podcast or whatever you think there is an audience for. If you are successful with content creation, it can be very profitable. Aside from profitability, if you are successful, the other great benefit is that you gain a following. This has many benefits, and it usually means that whatever project you are working on, you kind of have like an instant audience for it. Even if you go from making games to, let's say, selling boxers, maybe that's not a very good example, but even in your game development audience, there are bound to be some people who are interested in buying boxers from you. But it's not all rainbows and sunshine. The downsides with content creation are the same that you have heard your favorite YouTuber complain about. Also, gaining an audience can take a long time, and while making videos might sound like fun, making them on a schedule to please the YouTube algorithm might dampen that fun a bit. Which reminds me, did you know that even this video has a like button below that you can click, smash, destroy, whatever you want to do to it. It wants you to do it, so go ahead. Oh, and don't forget to leave 10 comments. Please. As a part-time YouTuber that tries to publish a few videos per month, I can say that it's not as easy as you might think. Just publishing one video per week can take a lot of time already, and if you don't have a large following, the financial compensation is not really anything to write home about. So if you want to go this route, don't expect it to be too easy. Then, fifth way of making money as a game developer is crowdfunding. One major downside of making games is that you usually don't have any income during the development phase. Crowdfunding can help you with this. You could, for example, host a Kickstarter campaign for your game, which is essentially like allowing players to pre-purchase your game, and at the same time you can offer some extra goodies for some extra money. All this doesn't come for free though. I mean, hosting a Kickstarter campaign can take a lot of time. From what I have heard, a surprisingly large amount of time. It might be good to assume that during the campaign you actually won't have time to develop the game itself. All this effort also doesn't come with any guarantees. Kickstarter has a nice stats page, and if you look at it, you will notice that around 40% of the campaigns reach their funding goal, and the majority of those raise less than $10,000. As an additional downside specific to games is that you usually offer your Kickstarter backers a key for your game. I mean, that's kind of expected. It's kind of like a pre-purchase of your game. But the downside is that this is usually for Steam, and if they didn't purchase the game on Steam, then if they leave a review for the game, that won't be counted up by Steam. The reviews will be visible, but they won't be counted in the total score, and if you want to get those so important 10 first reviews fast, well, don't count on the Kickstarter backers to give you those. I also have a feeling that the Steam algorithm probably also doesn't count those as like actual sales that would benefit your game in the eyes of the algorithm. So overall, it's very good to carefully consider if making a Kickstarter campaign is the right choice for your game. Another method of crowdfunding is membership services like Patreon. So the way this works is that your supporters will either pay a specific amount per month, or you can have content uploads that will need to be specifically unlocked by paying money. With either of these, the basic idea is the same. The idea is that you will continuously produce some kind of content that your supporters enjoy, so that they will stay as subscribers and keep supporting whatever you do. The great upside of this is that it is very predictable income, which is not really a common thing in the game development world. Then the sixth way of making money as a game developer is getting a publisher. As mentioned, getting money during the development phase can be very tricky, but a publisher can help with that. There are many different kinds of deals you can make with a publisher, but it is very common that they will give you money during the development, so you can actually focus on getting the game done. But in exchange for that, you will need to give up a portion of your game's revenue. The publisher will also usually want to recoup their costs. Basically, that means that when your game is out, the publisher will take all the revenue until they have gotten everything back that they gave you or spent on the marketing or whatever they spent money on. It's not always like that, but that's the basic gist of it. Many times developers aren't really allowed to talk about the specifics of what kind of deals they made with a publisher, but there is at least this very handy PC Gamer article that I found, which details what the average good and bad publishing deal looks like. I highly recommend reading through it if you're planning to go with a publisher. But so, each publishing deal is different, but usually the publisher will want something like 30% to 50% of all the revenue. That is not a small amount, So you should very carefully consider if it is worth signing up with a publisher. You also shouldn't assume anything and instead figure out all the details before you sign a paper. There are many important details to figure out, like who retains the intellectual property rights, who pays for marketing, do you get a blank check or is it just an advance that they will recoup from the sales. The devil is in the details, as they say. As a general rule of the thumb, and this is just my opinion now, I wouldn't sign up with any small publisher unless they have proven their worth with their previous releases. There are just too many risks of signing with an unknown publisher, and I think nowadays it is also very possible for indies to self-publish. That said, with the right details, I think signing up with a publisher can very much be worth it. Then the seventh way of making money as a game developer is employment/contract work. The most surefire way of making money as a game developer is to work on someone else's game. It might not be as exciting as working on your own game, but often it is very hard to beat a steady, guaranteed paycheck. If you're going with this option, I would at least try to avoid companies that are famous for crunch culture. Taking care of your physical and mental health is more important than the prestige that might come from working in a famous studio, at least if you ask me. But of course, it's good to mention that I have never worked in a game company other than my own game company. So you can take what I say with a pinch of salt. But hey, those are all the common ways of making money as a game developer that I could think of. If you have some other ways in mind, I would love to hear those in the comments. But hey, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.